Hello, my name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr., and I was born July 4th, 1986. Today I want to talk about the same thing I want to continue to keep talking about. That's the fact that some things that God is looking for from us. The God of the Bible. There's a lot of other books out there that say the word God and interpret them and call them a different name and different things going on, but I'm talking about the Bible that comes down to understanding that Jesus was alive, of God being able to walk this land and be able to experience what we actually are dealing with out here. That with the struggles that we actually have out here, not just him up there and looking down. And sometimes when the best way I can think of it right here, right now, is sometimes you create something that you put it into action, but you're not the one that's actually, say, doing the work. So you don't actually know what it's like when you're down there doing the work, because you just created it. Until you get down and just deep in it, until you're the foot soldier worker that's way down in there and just experience what everyone else is experiencing, then you're going to be able to have a good understanding of knowing like how to work upon some things, how to deal with some things, how everything really is. And that's a concept of how the Bible goes in the progressions of how it's written and why it's written in the way that it is. Because it's written in a way that it gives you the concept of how God was in the beginning and how God is right now. That this book is not finished. So this book is still talking about how we are today, right now. And until the things all come true that this book has stated is going to come true at some point, then we can say it's finished and now we can move on to say something different. But until everything in this book is finished, we have to kind of just, you don't have to nothing. You got a choice. You got the choice to do what you want to do. But if you want to live, you got to do some things that this book is looking for us to be able to do. And in reality, the one thing that I'm going to say is I just can't get off this concept of doing what this book is requiring for us to do and be and pay close attention to be able to get to that next step. But the next step, nobody knows what the book comes after this book. And who knows if this isn't just like some huge trilogy where maybe there's just three. I guess trilogy is three. But I was thinking more of like an encyclopedia where there's like one for every little topic. Who knows if this is just one of 5,000 stages or this is one of three. But the main thing is, if we can't figure out how to get through the first stage, how are we going to go to the second stage? If we're stumbling and fumbling a lot where we're just getting deceived and getting confused and going everywhere else compared to what this book is looking for us to do, how are you going to make it to that next stage? There's just no way that you're going to. Because even if you did get to that next stage, you're going to run into a situation. The situation of, I don't know how to do anything here because I didn't pay attention to the first stage. It's just a concept of, I don't know what's going on like schools today, because it's something that I've come to realize the more and more that school keeps going on, the more I keep seeing about it, hearing about it, being around it, it just keeps getting easier and easier. So if you're passing the 5th grade, knowing that you shouldn't be passing because you failed everything, you failed the whole thing, you just couldn't pass any of your tests, but you passed it to move on to the 6th grade because, what is that? No kid left behind. So we got to push them forward. Then you make it to the 7th, you make it to the 8th, you make it to the 9th, but you still have not even been able to master the 5th grade. You barely made it out of the 4th grade. But yet now you graduated high school. You're going to be in a very, very sticky situation because there's going to be some things that you should know, need to know, have to know to be able to make it to the next. Or I'm going to say school maybe not be the best thing to say with that, as opposed to like a technical skill, such as being an electrician. That's a way better way of looking at it. Being an electrician in your first day, you don't know how to read the whole schematics, how to rewire, and how to make sure that you got the right power to each breaker and everything is hooked up. You're just a new person that's like, hey, put those plugs in, put the plug plates on. You're that person. If you think that you're gonna skip the steps from just doing that, you don't even know how to do that. You don't even know how to run the wire. You don't even know how to read the map to figure out how to even run the wire. And think that you're gonna be the guy that's gonna be able to run it all. The person that's gonna be able to just be that manager, be that CEO, be that business owner that's gonna be able to make it all happen. And go to the client and say, I can get that done. You're gonna be so thrown off. Because in your mind, what you think this is where I'm gonna say a lot of business I think fails. Because in your mind, you think it's gonna take so long to get it done. But when you actually start doing it, you're like, wow, what I thought was gonna take 2 hours is taking 50 hours. That's how crazy the numbers get when you don't know. And that's something I can say with myself with different things I used to do. That I used to get into some stuff that I'm just like, oh, that'll just take an hour to paint that room. And you're 2 weeks into it because you had this issue, this came up, that came up, this was there, that you didn't even pay, you didn't even look at. You did a walkthrough, but you didn't know all of those little things that you needed to take care of. So you just skipped all that and thought, I'm just going to go right to the top, and you're gonna end up just destroying yourself. That you can't do that. And that's the way that I look at this Bible, and I look at life today that we have today. Today that we are walking this land today, and what we're doing, and what our purpose is here. Purpose here is to obey, pay attention to the commandments and the laws that God has given us. And that is all that He's looking for from us. He didn't ask us to do anything more or anything, especially anything less, but nothing more. And a lot of times we run into sticky situations just because we keep doing more, as opposed to just like what we had was good enough, man. Why are you doing the extra? Why are you trying to go further out there and just put yourself into even more and more and more, thinking that what it is already there is not enough? And that's where things get real complicated. So today I want to read something. It's like I said, I've got story after story that I can continue to keep talking about, and I'm going to read a little bit of this right here because I don't know what it is, but I just even though I'm not the greatest reader, that the more and more I keep doing it, the more I'll get better at it. Because some point, someday, I'm just going to have to be able to read really well. And that's something I can say for my own self, that I shouldn't have made it out of 3rd, 4th grade because I didn't know how to read that great. But yet I just kept moving forward and kept moving forward and kept moving forward. And it just kept getting pushed off, and you don't need it, and you don't need it. And you don't need it for certain skills on this planet. But if you want to be able to do some Excel work, you want to be able to do something greater, you definitely need to know how to read. You need to know how to look at text, be able to comprehend it, understand it, get it all in you, and be able to put that text to be able to explain it to somebody else. And that's for me right now, of kind of doing what I can to get out of 3rd grade right now, to read this text so that you could be able to understand it. But in reality, I've got help. It's not just I'm reading some mystery novel here. I've got help, because once you start hearing just 2 or 3 words out of this book, the Spirit is going to come inside of you to assist me. So what I'm lacking in, God is going to be able to give to you to be able to help me out. And that's, I don't know why, but that makes me feel really good inside. That makes me realize that what I'm doing, that even though I'm not perfect at it, it's okay. That's something that's always been hard for me to do, is do or say or do anything without it being perfect. And I've noticed, especially this past few days of reading this book, that I'm far from perfect. I'm far from the best. I'm far from even average. That I'm just so thankful to just keep working at it, keep going at it, and doing what I have to do, and not looking at myself like I'm stupid or silly in any way. And at the same time, I guess I can appreciate that. No one else has ever said that to me as well, that I appreciate that, and I hope that would continue to keep moving forward in my life. Because a lot of times, things that we stop at, that we fail at, is because somebody told us that we're stupid and we're no good, and we shouldn't this and shouldn't that. You know, we shouldn't pay attention to that, but it's hard. It's hard as a human being to not have that in us, to like hear someone say that about you, and you just like ignore it like it wasn't there, knowing that you aren't the best at it. And I think that a lot of us fail and quit and stumble upon things that we should be doing. We just quit because of what even just one person had to say to you. And I would hope that more and more people would just be able to see the problems that I have, the not so perfectness, my 3rd grade reading level type experience, to give you some security that you don't need to be perfect to talk about God. You don't need to have all the answers to talk about who God is. That He's going to help you out, and not just you, but He's going to help the person out that's trying to understand what it is that you're saying. And if that person is 100% rejecting it, then move forward. You already said what you had to say, then move forward. And it's a beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. And that's something that I know for a fact, that if I'm talking to someone else that believes this book and believes in God and believes in Jesus, that if I'm speaking some Bible verses to you, you're not gonna, and I'm trying to read it to you, and I'm stumbling and fumbling a little bit, you're not gonna laugh at me and call me stupid. You're gonna look at me and say, look, we'll get through this. And that's one way that I know for a fact, and I can be able to distinguish the difference between some people on this planet, what your intentions are. Because if all you want to do is just laugh and joke and giggle and try to slander and talk down to me, I know what to do with you next. And it's up to me to be able to make that decision of realizing, let's just move forward, because this information is for everybody. It's every single person has it in them. But it's not every single person has it in them that they want to live by it. And it's a story that I want to read right here. In the book of Ezekiel, I mean, just here in this like little bit, it talks about the same thing I want to talk about like 3 times. I think actually 4 times. So something that is just said over and over that God is looking for from us. And it's something that I want to continue to keep on reading more and more, to the point that I end up reading this entire book on camera for someone to be able to hear and be able to understand. Not just give you a Bible verse here and there, but give you a story that God's telling us. Because this book is a lot of stories. A lot of stories for us to be able to easily understand, but maybe not at first because we're confused. And once you start to just keep going and going and going, and start to get a little bit of that confusion out, because you start to get confidence and you start to get the trust, then things are really going to start to be able to move much smoother for you. And you're not going to be just feeling like you're all alone. Because that's one thing that I would say is being out here and doing what I'm doing, and a problem that I've had my whole life is feeling alone. Even though I had my brothers and sister, my mom and dad, I had friends, I had everything, I always felt alone. I just felt like nobody was listening to me. Nobody ever cared. Nobody would ever just take their time and just say, hey, Anthony, what's going on with you? I just felt like I was always alone. And then I ran into sticky situations in my life because I wanted something to pay attention to me. And then the thing that I attached to that would pay attention to me just for a little bit so that they would just switch the roles later on. And then I had to realize, once more I read this Bible more and more, that I'm far from alone, that I've got something way greater than anything out here on this planet could possibly help me out with, and be able to get that alone feeling out of me, to be able to give me something to be able to work with. So right here I want to read in Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, the 4th verse. So I'm going to read a little bit here. And hopefully I can smoothly get through this, and it's something that I pray about a lot. I know practice is in reality the only way to get better, but praying, you gotta shoot your shot sometimes. He says, ask and you'll receive. Sometimes things will just happen that I'll just be able to look at that, and then I'll be able to speak it out of the heart, and I don't even need to read it. I pray for stuff like that to happen to me. I don't know what you're praying for, but I pray to be able to understand God's words more, God's understanding, God's love, God's compassion, God's hate, God's fear, God's wrath. I try to understand more about that than worrying about getting a new hat, new car, and new hairdo, new shoes, and new anything and anything like that. I want more understanding of this, because the more understanding of this, I can be able to help out more people. So it says, these are questions that are given to God, and then he starts to answer. Will you judge them? Will you judge them, Son of Man? Then confront them with the detestable practices of their ancestors and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. On the day I chose Israel, it's weird because that's actually a misspelled word right there, chose Israel, I swore with uplifted hand to the descendants of Jacob and revealed myself to them in Egypt. With uplifted hand I said to them, I am the Lord your God. On that day I swore to them, and I would bring them out of Egypt into a land I searched out for them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands. And I said to them, each of you, get rid of your vile images you have set your eyes on, and do not defile yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. But they rebelled against me, and they would not listen to me. They did not get rid of the vile images they had set on their eyes on, nor did they forsake their idols of Egypt. So I said, I would pour out my wrath on them and spend my anger against them in Egypt. But for the sake of my name, I brought them out of Egypt. I did not keep my eye from them being profane in the eyes of the nations among whom they lived, and in whose sight I had revealed myself to the Israelites. Therefore I led them out of Egypt and brought them into the wilderness. I gave them my decrees, and I made known to them my laws, by which the person who obeys them will live. Also, I give them my Sabbaths as a sign between us, so they would know that I, the Lord, made them holy. Yet the people of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not follow my decrees, but rejected my laws, by which the person obeys them, they will live. And they utterly desecrated my Sabbaths. So I said I would pour out my wrath on them and destroy them in the wilderness. But for the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations in whose sight I had brought them out. I'll keep on reading because this is a lot here. This is the parts here that is fascinating. That is just, it's interesting because I want to talk more about it, but I'm just going to read the whole thing that I want to read right now, and then I'll say some things. Also with uplifted hand, I swore to them in the wilderness that I would not bring them into the land I had given them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, because they rejected my laws and did not follow my decrees and desecrated my Sabbaths. For your hearts were devoted to their idols. Yet I looked on them with pity and did not destroy them or put an end to them in the wilderness. I said to their children in the wilderness, do not follow the statutes of your parents or keep their laws or defile yourselves with their idols. I am the Lord your God. Follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws. Keep my Sabbaths holy. that they may be a sign between us. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. But the children rebelled against me. They did not follow my decrees. They were not careful to keep my laws, of which I said, the person who obeys them will live by them. And they desecrated my Sabbaths. So I said I would pour out my wrath on them and spend my anger against them in the wilderness. But I withheld my hand, and for the sake of my name, and what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations in whose sought I had brought them out. It's so strange how that's written. It's hard to. Also, with uplifted hand, I swore to them in the wilderness that I would disperse them among the nations and scatter them throughout the countries, because they had not obeyed my laws, but had rejected my decrees and desecrated my Sabbaths, and their eyes lusted after their parents' idols. So I gave them other statutes that were not good, and laws through which they could not live. I defiled them through their gifts being some savage stuff right here, the sacrifice of the firstborn, and I might fill them with horror so that they would know that I am the Lord. So we're just going to stop right there, because this is a very interesting thing, because when you are reading all of what he's talking about here and how it was going down. So all he's talking about here is Moses, and Moses bringing them out of Egypt, and Moses taking them and being in the wilderness, and Moses taking them to the promised land where they can see it, but they weren't able to actually go. Their children were the ones that are actually able to go. And this is talking about all of that. And it's very fascinating, because everywhere along the way, so this is the video I talked about with them, when God would say, hey, do this, and they just would not do it. They would do everything against it. When God would say, hey, don't do that, they would just instantly change. When God says, don't make any new idols, they instantly made an idol of a calf. When God said, don't pray over there to those people, they would instantly go, they would just keep doing it over and over and over. And this story with Moses and this concept of where he says, for my name's sake, to keep my name holy, basically, to keep my reputation is a good way of saying it. He says that he didn't do things to be able to keep his name holy, to not let the outsiders realize and know, like, haha, your God did that to you. You guys are stupid. You guys suck, and your God is pointless. So God had to do some things to be able to represent himself as being true, holy, and faithful. So he had to hold back on what it is that he wanted to do. But at the same time, it's very interesting, because there's multiple times that Moses has talked to God and was communicating with him and was pleading with him, was saying, don't do this. So then God's like, okay, I won't. And then Moses would say to him again, hey man, don't do this, because it's going to look bad. The others are going to laugh and mock us because we got out here, and then God just killed us all out here in the wilderness. Everyone's going to laugh and mock us because we were able to get away from Egypt, and he just killed us right here as soon as we got out. So Moses is like, please don't do that. Don't do that. You are way much greater than that. So Moses saw and knows the power of God. But there's something that's going on here that I'm going to say is interesting in the beginnings of the stories compared to the ends of the stories, with the whole reasoning on why Jesus and everything about Jesus. Because at first Moses knew some absolute greatness about God, because he was actually the one walking this land and on it. In the story in this part so far, God hasn't been, say, a human being on this planet. So he's listening to a human being to be able to get the insight of what it's like to be a human being. And he's listening to Moses, and he's taking Moses' direction. Moses said, don't hurt him. I'll take care of it. Don't do that. I'll take care of it. God will keep doing that. And doing that just allowed God to keep getting greater and greater and greater. So it's a human being on this land that was so inspired, so turned on is a way that I can say, about God, knowing how great he is and how wonderful he is, because he was able to give him, say, the magical things that he was able to do, the miracles he was able to do. And when you're that one that has that staff in your hand and makes plagues happen and makes things happen, it gives you a sense of like, man, God is powerful. Like, you powerful, man. Like, you almost too powerful for us as humans. Like, your niceness is a lot, and your bad and evilness is a lot. So you got to kind of regulate it a little bit more. And it's interesting that Moses is able to, in a way, regulate what God is doing and how far he's allowing him to go. He's saying, I'll take care of it. I know you want to take out 100,000, but we'll take out the ones that need to be, so that your name can stay great, because you are great. And I don't want you to get mad and just in reality feel like you got to start over. Because it's very interesting that I read this Bible over and over, and I do get the concept of the whole Israelites and God's chosen people, that he does say that. He says that it's just Israelites, but I'm telling you, God is much greater than just one group of people. He's with all the groups of people. And that's the story of like majority of these prophets here that are going to say the other people, the other clans, the everyone else. And it's trying to get them to listen and pay attention and worship God and start to live by his commands and live by his laws. But they all reject it. They just reject it. And they reject it to the point that no longer do the children ever even pay attention, that they all just go away. But there's something that I'm going to say with the Israelites that is maybe different than everyone else, that the story goes further and further into them specifically compared to anybody else, because there's always that one or two that decides, I want to pay attention to that. There's a one or two that picks up a book and they find a book and they're just like, oh wow, it's fascinating how when you're listening to it, you just start to feel like you're living in it. But at some point, someone just finds a book and they start reading the book and they're just like, wow, there's some fantastic information in here. The same way that I feel like I've just picked up this book and started reading it, started realizing there's some fantastic information here. And then he brings it to somebody where he would think, hey, Oreo, come back over here. Get down. And he brings it to someone who he would say is his elder, someone he looks up to who doesn't know this information, and he reads it to him, and the guy's like, ooh, that's how we're supposed to follow God. That's the way that God is looking for from us. He's not looking for this, and these idols and these things and sacrificing our kids and doing stuff like that. He's not looking for any of that. Well, why are we doing that? So they get back in tune with understanding what God is looking for. And then the God hears them and he moves them and he keeps on helping them and guiding them. And it's interesting because that's like my life. What he's talking about here is my life. That I was lost, I was confused, I was worried, I was nervous, I was anxious, I was depressed, I was everything you could think of. Everything you could think of. And I'm blessed, I guess I could say, to be a part of everything that you could think of. I'm blessed to be any of that. But there's something that happened that I stumbled upon a book and then I rejected it because I don't know why in reality. That's something that I don't really try to put too much thought into anymore today, but maybe I should, to figure out why I rejected it, to figure out how to be able to help that next person that's rejected it right now that says this is stupid, this is pointless, this is worthless. But I rejected it. I rejected everything about it. And then later on, I decided I want to get back into that. And then I got into it, and then I started reading it, and then I started understanding what it is that God is looking for from us. What is it that we're here to do? What is it here that I should be paying attention to? Because in reality, doing all this extra stuff is hard work. And it's hard work enough to just pay attention to the commands. It's hard work enough to do that. Just don't say 10. It's hard work on your day to day, every day, going to sleep, waking up, when you wake up on that day, to just live out that entire day with making sure that you're living by those commands. It's hard enough. As opposed to trying to do extra, trying to pray to another God or another one, and you're setting up 15 time schedules a day to start doing things like this. You start building stuff and killing stuff and slaying stuff and sacrificing stuff and doing stuff. You're doing too much. You already have enough to take care of. And it's something to me that I was wondering, like, what the heck is it that I'm supposed to be doing out here? What is it that I'm supposed to be taking care of? And I realized, like, that's all that I have to do. Not that that's all, but in comparison to everything else I thought I needed to do to be able to have God with me. Everything else I thought I needed to do to be able to have God to be able to help me out and guide me. Everything else I thought I had to do was not leading me in the right direction at all in any sort of way. It was leading me absolutely downhill. And then I started to realize the things that is actually God is looking for, that God is actually wanting from me, that God is actually needing from me. I'm like, wow. Now you simplified my life to realize that all this extra that I was trying to do is pointless. All this extra of trying to go and buy more of this and get more of that and have more of that is not, it doesn't matter because it's not ever going to be able to fulfill me. And then I started to realize more and more about the power of what these commands are all about and why it's stated over and over and over in this Bible to make sure that we're paying attention to it. And that is the way to be able to have what it is that we're looking for on this planet. That I don't know what it is, but I think that we all have, I'd have to do a survey on this and ask a whole lot of people, as many as I can. But I think we all have something in us that we're seeking, we're looking for. It's like we have this burning desire in us, like we got to do something. We have to fulfill something. We got to work upon something. Something needs to be done. And a lot of people get stuck in a fast pace. Like I gotta go. Yep, you know what I'm talking about. I gotta go. Like this dog right here, he's always, I gotta go. Like, I appreciate that. But right now, I want you to do something different, which is not go too much, just slow down, just relax, just calm, and everything's going to be all right. But he's got something in you that you just have this, I got to do something. I got to make something happen. I got to move. And I need to fulfill some purpose. And then I'm pretty sure we all have that in us. We have this I got to do it. And that's something that gets filled when you start to live by the commands of God. You start to understand how to be able to get that complete. You understand how to be able to satisfy that desire. You understand how to be able to move forward in life without that need of just that passion of, I'm not doing enough. And that's what the commandments bring us. And the more and more that you get closer and closer to them, the more and more that you are in tune with what it is that you're doing. And then I'm telling you that there's something that happens. There's something very, very powerful that happens. Because it's interesting because the Bible talks about it over and over as well. It talks about it that when you start to get closer and closer into the commandments that you're living, you start to get further and further in it, you start to want to do something. You start to want to do something different. And you start to want to be something different. Instead of what everyone else out here is doing and trying so hard, all these cars driving, going back and forth to this work that they're thinking that they need to be able to buy more and have more and do this more and be able to go on more trips and do some more stuff, that you start to realize, like, that's pointless. What I really want to start doing is figure out how to be able to communicate to the next person to figure out how to be able to get them to get out of that race. You're in the wrong race. There's multiple races going on this planet, and the one race that's the right race, that I'm going to say that there's just no other races, is the race to get to God. And the race to get to Him is to pay attention to His commands. But for some reason, what we do as humans is do everything against that, everything away from that, everything to the point that we want to have all these messages and talks and everything today of, that doesn't matter. You don't need to pay attention to the commands. That's old stuff. That's part of the old. And that is part of the old, but it's also part of the new. There is an old covenant and there is a new. The new covenant did not get rid of the laws, because otherwise Jesus would specifically say, hey, you don't need to pay attention to those 10 commandments anymore. But no, he repeats them over and over and over again to let you know this is what you're supposed to be paying attention to. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're not going to be walking around here and saying, I believe in Jesus, knowing that you're not supposed to be stealing and just doing it. And then at the end of the day say, oh, please God, forgive me, forgive me. And when you're purposely still doing it, when you're purposely still living in adultery, when you're purposely still just dishonoring everything, everyone around you, when you're purposely out there just trying to destroy everyone, trying to just be ruthless to everyone, when you're purposely doing that over and over all the time, and then you're going to go home and say, oh, Jesus understands me, He knows I'm just a sinner, and it's just what I do. That's not how we're supposed to be living out here. That is doing 100% the opposite of what God is looking for from us. He's looking for us to stick to His commands. He's looking for us to stick to His laws. He's looking for us to stay with that, and that's the only way that we're going to be able to get to Him. It's the only way that we can live. And He says that twice in this simple passage that I just read right here, right now. And if He said it twice right there, how many more times do you think He said it throughout this entire book to let us know exactly what it is that we're supposed to be doing? That I don't know why we got all these different messages out here going on, where it's God's going to get you that new job. God's going to get you that car. He's going to get you that house. He's going to get all your sickness out of you. Will He do all that? Yes, when you are obeying and paying attention and living by His guidelines. When you're paying attention to His commandments. Yes, He's going to be able to do such a thing. But is He going to do that when you're just being extremely disobedient? When you're going off to different places? No. Did He give the people the land that He promised to give them? No. Because they were being disrespectful and not going to what it is that He was looking for. So He ended up having to just disperse them and move them all around. But He did say to them, He did give them that promise. He gave the promise. If you come back to me, you start paying attention to my commands, you start holding my Sabbaths, you start praying to me, you start worshiping me, you start putting me as the number one, I'll bring you back to that land that is going to be able to give you they call it milk and honey, which is interesting. But in reality, milk and honey are two things that come from very, very nice land. Because you need nice land to be able to have the animals to be able to give you the milk so that they can eat all day and give you good milk. And then you need good vegetation to be able to have good honey, because you need the bees to come to be able to do that part as well. So land that's able to have both of those is a phenomenal land. It's some beautiful land. Oreo down, Johnny down, May, you good. it's a beautiful land. And it's something that he promises that he'll bring us to only if and when we start to pay attention to his commandments. That's something that is very, very powerful, that I know it's not a pretty message that everybody is just so, woohoo, I'm got all the spirit in me. I'm going to get that car next weekend because all I got to do is just give you some tithing this month. I'm going to get that car. It's not a message like that. It's a message of you got some things that you need to work upon. It's got a message of you need to quit a lot of things that you're doing. It's got a message of you need to figure out how to do anything and everything in your power to stop doing the things that are going against what God is looking for from us. It's not a exciting, fun, going out there message, but the overall message is. The overall is. It's the most greatest, wonderful, amazing thing out on the planet. Because you're going to get away from all the things that you're thinking you're trying so hard to get these feelings inside of you. It's like, oh yeah, I want this car. It's going to make me feel good. And then come to realize when you get it, it actually doesn't. Because then you're already looking at that next one. You're already trying to go to next. I've had this situation many times with my own personal life of seeing it. Thinking, oh, this car is going to do it. And then I end up just selling the car for extremely cheap to see that look that I had when I got it on that next boy's face. The guy I sold one of my vehicles to, he looked like me when I got it. But I'm telling you, you're going to get it and then it's just going to fade away to being nothingness. That's what happens with all these material things out here. It's exciting at first and then it's like, I don't know. Like, it's how marriage is. That's exactly how that works. It's exciting at first, then it's like, oh, now we got to work at this. It's not just easy and just lovey-dovey and everything's so smooth. Now we got work. And that's why it's powerful, because it's something that is not just given. It's something that you have to work really, really hard at to make sure that you can continue to keep on maintaining. And that's something that God is looking for from us, something that is going to take some work from us to maintain. It's not work of going out there and plowing the land and doing evangelism work or doing anything. It's not doing any of that. It's sticking to his commands. The reason you're going to go out there and start yelling and screaming to the world about who God is, because once you start living by his commands, you're going to have it in you to say, like, I found the golden ticket. I found the answer. I found the answer to all the problems, to the addictions, to the depressions, to the anxieties. I found the answers, and you want to go and share that with as many people as possible. That's why it's hard to break anyone's spirit that's deep in. It's hard to break my spirit to tell me that, oh, that's stupid, that's fake, that's not real. I'm going to say, buddy, you don't know where I was. You don't know how I was thinking. You don't know the habits that I had, that I do not have at all anymore, that I'm completely away from. And not because I'm not around it. I just don't want it because I have what I need to fill me up with what I thought I needed those things for. And that's the power of what God is really able to bring to us. Not material stuff. I'm telling you, that's all of the enemy. That's the devil's stuff. And in reality, that's God's stuff, the stuff of the land. But God of the Spirit, which you want to be a part of. God of where you want to be able to go in your future, to be able to make it to that stage 2. I don't know, I don't want to say that this is stage 1, but if it is, we're in stage 1 right now. And stage 1 is, it only makes perfect sense to me of this being stage 1, because say the rules are pretty simple. Is obey my commands and worship me. I'm the only one. And obeying those commands breaks down every little thing to be able to have a good understanding of what God's all about and who he is and what he's capable of doing. And then the next stage, we'll figure out what the next stage is. But if we can't do this simple stage right now, there's no room for you in the next stage. And God specifically says that. Because you live by my commands and you live. If you don't, then you die. And you're not going next. In reality, we don't know what happens in that scenario, but in my way of thinking, based on what I read here, it almost seems like we just do it again until we figure it out. And you got to figure it out to be able to move on to that next stage. And the more and more that you're just, I don't care and I don't care and I don't want and I don't desire, the more and more that you're just, you're delaying what it is to be able to have that peace that you're looking for. That's another thing that I'm going to say that I know is in all of us that we're looking for, that peace inside of us. We're looking for some sort of satisfaction to be able to calm us down, to be able to allow us to get out of the anger and the frustration, to be able to humble us to the point of realizing that a lot that we pay close attention to that we think is maddening and getting on our nerves just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's meaningless. It's pointless. And it's something that I'm going to say is absolutely amazing about understanding what it is that God is looking for and what it is our purpose is out here, is to live by the commands of God. That's your purpose. Your purpose right now of life, right now living on this planet, is to live by those commands. And once you start doing that, you're going to figure out something next of where it is that you're going to go. Because there's one thing that I do know, that I hope to be able to be a person of at some point in my life. That I get stronger and stronger and closer and closer to faith. I start to get more and more understanding of this book so that I can be able to help that next person be able to do that. And when you're able to help people with real problems, help people with their addictions for real, help someone that has a drug problem that they want to stop and truly help them. When you can truly do that for people, you're going to be invaluable. There's no monetary amount that you could put to be able to help someone out with that. That's worth your whole life in reality. And that's what it is about, what God is all about. That my entire life is for him because of what he's been able to do for me and the information that he's been able to bring to me and the peace that he's been able to bring to me. I can't put a dollar amount on that. I can't. And when I start to be able to get better and better and more fluent with what it is that I know and understand and believe and start to get even more steady, I'll be able to give that information to that next person and the next person, the next person, the next person. And that's what I'm going to say is, in reality, the purpose of what we're doing out here. We're not out here to try to get a business course together to teach you how to be able to create a 6-figure a month income. What is the point of that? You're not really helping anybody with doing that. You're helping somebody. No, you're helping yourself selling a course to somebody you know is not going to be able to complete it. But you're not really helping anybody figure out how to be able to deal with core issues that are going on inside of them. You're helping people with that superficial issues, materialistic issues. You're not helping people with the inside issue. You're putting lotion on thinking it's going to help your insides. You got a kidney issue or you got cirrhosis. What's it called that? Cirrhosis of the liver, and you putting lotion on thinking that's going to solve that. That's not going to solve that issue. You got a heart issue. Well, they're telling you that you got high blood pressure. I don't know which one's worse, or high or low, but it seems like high might be worse than low. But they say you got high blood pressure and you got blockages going on, and you try to put some lip gloss on, thinking that that's going to help it. No, you need to deal with the inside issue, the inside problems. You got issues with your lungs that you can't breathe right. I don't know what that calls, CPOD. I think that's what that is. You got those issues going on, and you can't breathe right. And you sitting here trying to go to the hairdresser to get your hair looking better. You need to deal with the inside, not put some topical things on the outside and making it even worse, putting a shirt over, not even putting nothing directly on your body, but just trying to cover it up with putting a shirt over it, and putting a jacket over it, putting a sweater over it, putting hats over it, and trying to just act like nothing's wrong. No, I don't care how fancy of a suit you put on. If you have cirrhosis of the liver, you're going to have some sticky situations if you don't deal with the inside. I don't care what suit you got. I don't care if you got $1 million suit on, $1 million chain on, a $5 million watch on. All of that is meaningless. It's pointless. If you don't have the inside figured out, you don't have the inside getting worked upon. Hey, Oreo. Oh, get down. If you don't have the inside figured out, you're not going to get anywhere really far at all. You're not going anywhere. So that's something that I think a lot of us should really try our best to work upon and worry more about. The actual core problems. Not try to just put some, I hate saying a Band-Aid analogy with it, but just put some topical things on some things to try to fix yourself. That's not going to work. It's going to work for a little bit, and then it's going to go right back to chaos. And some things that we do, it works for a little bit, and then it ends up making it worse in the long term. And it makes it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And now you're further away to the point that you no longer are able to even fix the inside. I'm not saying that it's ever too late, but it might just be too late, because now you're so far gone, so far away that you don't even know where to start, and you just get discouraged. You just say, you know what, I just want to die. I don't want to be here. And you end up at that point. And I think that a lot of people on this planet right now are at that point where they're just discouraged. They're just like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what to do. But I'm gonna tell you, you can hear me, you can see me, you can do something right here, right now. And that is just pray to God and just say, God, I know you're the one. You're the creator of it. And ask him for that assistance of where do I go next? And what is it that I need? Because I know you're looking for something that I need this fixed right now. And that's the one thing that I would ask him for right up front, to allow him to show you how amazing he is, how much he's done to allow you to be able to be here, to be able to do and have the life that you have. That he was going to give that to you. But I'm telling you, that's still not going to complete you, because the core issue, I don't think that we all even know what that is until we get further and further and further and further in. That we're still asking for things that are topical. It's like for me, when I was asked, like, I just want to get these suicidal thoughts gone. I thought that would be able to just fix and make my life just good to go. But I realized that still was just a topical thing. That wasn't the inside problem that I had. That wasn't my core issue. I'm still working upon that to complete that. And that's where what I would say with myself, that once I get further and further being able to complete that, I know for a fact I'll be able to help out people in ways that no one is able to understand. You're just not going to get it. You're going to say, how do you know that? How are you able to do that? I'm going to say, that's God. God did that. And that's how Jesus was. And Jesus saying to us that we will be able to do the same, and if not more, than what he was able to do. And I truly believe that. Because I do know and see and have seen people do some incredible things. Some very incredible things. That we are powerful. And I would want everyone to be able to experience that. And that starts with understanding what the commands are. What his commandments are. What's going on. What is he looking for from us? What does he need? What is he desiring? And then he's going to do everything in his power to work for you once you start to get on that and stick with that. And with that, I want to say thank you for a blessed day for me today. I'm going to say a nice day, that in reality, they just keep getting nicer and nicer. I keep getting very interesting, strange dreams that I'm going to say are not nice, but they're revealing, they're eye-opening. They're allowing me to see before the situations I'm about to get into, and me already making the decisions of where it is that I want to go. That I can see a difference going on with where it is that my what's that word? Where my ideas, my passions are going. Where I can see someone coming in where I thought that I would get tempted and get steered off, that I ended up actually rejecting it and saying, no, I actually don't want that. No, I want to stick and stay over here. Whereas before, yeah, I would have just taken that. I was like, yeah, that's nice. I'll take that. Let's go ahead and go over there. And I'm starting to see like weird stuff, very weird, very challenging things. Very challenging things. Things that in reality I would just wake up and be like, try to force myself, get out of that. You're not ready for that yet. But now I just like to sit in it. So I could do this. I could handle this. It's such an interesting feeling because that lets me know where it is that I'm headed to. Even though it's hard to deal with some things, that I'm working on things that are hard to deal with, that to be able to build myself, to be able to allow to fill that void that I have, to be able to get complete and complete with God. And it's an amazing thing, and I want that for more people, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful for these amazing dogs that they just keep doing so good for me and being so nice. And the one thing that I'm going to say is God has really been helping me out a lot with that, allowing me to be able to get more calm, more relaxed, so that we're no longer out here battling. A simple way that each one is starting to just get better and better for me, and I'm so thankful for that. That everything is just looking nicer around here for me, and I'm so thankful for that. And I want to figure out how to be able to get better and better with God so that I can fill that void inside of me so that I can be able to help out more people. And that's my ultimate goal on this planet, is to be able to have the understanding, to be able to help out you, to be able to bring something to you. Thank you. We can go. Get up.